2434 Alpha and 2433 Alpha. Can I get you to Sys 2401 Alpha? Roger.
Hi, I'm Holly Barkwell. I'm the President and CEO of BH Group, Inc. I'm also the Canadian Region Director for NENA, and we're here to discuss the concepts and challenges surrounding the transition to next generation 911 from the PSAP and the technology perspective. Today we have Yves Laliberté from Komutel Systems, and Komutel is also an active member of the ISIWIG Working Group. Thank you very much, Yves, for joining us today. I'm looking forward to your perspective and your thoughts.
It's my pleasure, Holly.
So to start off, I would like to ask a question just in general. And I've asked everybody that's participating in the interviews the same question is, can you provide to us your understanding of the term next generation 911?
That's a great question that I suspect you're getting a lot of different answers. That's been my experience the last several years. There's a few ways to look at it from my perspective. We can try to technically answer what does it mean, new generation 911. And what I would start by saying is that new generation 911 is not a product. New generation 911 is a series of functional elements throughout the entire 911 operating system, from operating service providers, originating service providers, ILECs, and public safety agencies and agencies to basically handle 911 calls in the future in a way that's been done traditionally for the last 50 years. So it's really a series of elements working together. That's what's going to define NG911. I think part of the answer is the implication of what NG911 is going to mean. So defining it is one way, but also understanding that we're going to be creating a brand new 911 environment over time is part of the definition I would use when talking to people about what is NG911.
So in keeping with that, what would be the biggest challenge that you see for Komutel and for your clients in terms of being operationally ready for the transition or to stand up next gen service?
Yeah, well, essentially, what we share with our clients is that in the context of NG911, you need to look at what you do today, under E911, and look at what are the things that are going to change. And the discussion early on, we've been at this for a number of years, often tend to gravitate towards technology. What the challenges are and what we're guiding our clients to think about is it's definitely going to have an impact on technology, but technology is one element of what NG911 means. You're going to need to do different processes, different policies, different training. You may have to hire different people. You'll need additional skill set in managing the new generation 911 environment in your communication center. So it's not just about the technology. And what we're sharing with our clients is that you need to, we recommend that now that we have, a couple key decisions that have taken place in the last 18 months. One is the CRTC decision in December of 2016 to adopt NENA I3 standards. So that gives everybody in the industry a framework to work with. The June 2017 decision, where the CRTC provided some clarity about who are going to be the main players from an ILEC standpoint and what the timelines are going to be. Our advice and the challenges are in a number of areas. First of all, you need to look at what your current environment looks like. And what we would say as an observation at this stage, changes in the 911 environment in the last 5 years have tended to be fairly uniform across the country. When we went from X25 to IP, we could tell most agencies and public safety agencies, this is the recipe. This is what it's going to look like. going forward, you need to look at your current landscape. What do you have in place? What are your financial commitment? What are the skill sets? What's your vision of where you want to be, in the future? And then
Mhm.
start implementing a plan. So the standards give us what the ultimate goal is going to be, but each PSAP now has some flexibility on how they become an ENI 3 compliant PSAP based on their preference for best in class, CAD system, call recording system, telephony system, IT implementation, etc. So there are a number of ways now that agencies and PSAPs can look at where they're starting from, where they want to go, and what's a good plan to get there. So part of the challenges is to engage with the right people to understand what are the moving parts you need to plan out, and start identifying phases that you want to do so that you don't have to do a massive change you know uh, the night before the deadlines, which has happened a few times.
I'm certain it has, and as the trials come closer, the voice trials in 2019, that's certainly going to be an issue that crops up again.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'd like to add, a little bit in both in terms of your first question, what is the definition of what does NG 911 mean in Canada,
Mhm.
and the challenges. One thing I would offer, which is not standard in the world of 911, is that we as an industry, and that involves all the key constituents in the industry, we actually have a really, once in a lifetime opportunity to innovate, to work together as a team and to innovate. And people are right when they say, well, we don't have all the answers yet. Well, I see that more as a good news than a bad news, where not having all the answers mean that we can actually uh, input what we want things to look like in the end and not have to inherit, you must do it this way. So I see it as a huge opportunity for the industry to innovate, but the only way we'll be able to do that, and again, what are the challenges and some of the recommendations, we need to work as a team, and we need to engage, and we need to communicate, openly, more as a partnership of the people. And we see that a fair bit at the EasyWig meetings and subcommittee meetings, where people from all aspects of business, sometimes competitors, sit together to figure out how we make it better for everyone.
So having listed easily 10 different items that people need to look out for, what would be the most important piece of advice you would offer agencies as they embark on their transition journey?
Yeah, well, I've alluded to it quite a bit. The first, several things come to mind actually, but the first thing is get involved. Get involved. We don't have enough agencies and public safety access point at the table most of the time. We have a number of agencies that have been leaders and contributing a lot, and it's amazing and fantastic to work with those agencies. But there are many others that are smart and they have a lot to offer and have not engaged yet. So I would really encourage them to engage in the forums. Also, engage with your vendors and potentially new vendors. What I would observe in the world of technology, the suppliers of the past are not necessarily the supplier of the future. And we already know in Canada specifically, one of the key vendor that was at the heart of many of the things we do is no longer among us, and that expertise is gone. So agency should engage now. What we are working with clients is that we and this concept, this idea came from an agency, the concept of pre-NG. So we can start working on migrating from E911 to NG, but there are many things we can do today that the PSAPs and the agencies can do today that we would label as pre-NG initiatives. And these pre-NG initiatives are basically baby steps, small steps of modernizing certain parts of your 911 comm center, and in the process, start to get your team members used to doing things slightly different than they're doing it today, very much in a way that they will have to do it in the future. So you can start making some small pre-NG investment and initiatives that give you benefit today with some sort of return on investment, but also set the stage for what I would call a progressive migration to NG. And you can do things as your budget suits you, as your life cycle management comes up, and engage with trusted vendors that will show you best practices of projects that have been underway for the last few years. So many of these pre-NG opportunities are not unproven.
So last question for you. From your perspective and from Komutel, are there any additional thoughts or comments you'd like to leave any viewers with?
Well, one of the ones that I can't help but bring up, and I'm surprised I didn't do it already. The frequency that we hear, from agencies and public safety that they don't like change. We don't like change. Change is the enemy. I can't help but bring this up, say that you have to think through that, because as leaders, you send a message to your team members, you send a message to the constituents that you need to convince in the municipalities and various level of governments. So we need to start embracing change. Most of the people I meet do have a mobile phone or a smartphone, a smart TV. I think it's pretty obvious that the world around us is changing. Smart cities, connected health, driverless cars. So those trends are happening. They're real. So as consumers, we probably embrace change more than maybe in our day-to-day operational role in public safety. But we need a mindset change as a group to say, first of all, change is inevitable. Second of all, I think when you look at things in the right light of day, status quo is not an option for many reasons. Part of it, there are deadlines that the current networks are going to be, terminated. So these are now facts that we know. So it's a long answer to your question, but the way we tackle working together and making things happen, a lot of it starts by embracing change and understanding that there's a period of challenge to go through when at the beginning change is difficult, and in the middle it can be painful, but in the end it's going to be beneficial because we're going to be able to do more faster, and the mission of the agencies is to save and protect lives. So that's what the big picture is all about.
Oh, that's excellent comments. Thank you very much for that, because I would add to that I heard you repeat a couple of times the change management process. And I would like to, throw that in and say it's all about managing change. If you do it in a coordinated fashion and start planning change at the beginning of the process, or planning for the change now as you plan the technology, then it's going to go much smoother than it would at the end. It will occur one way or the other, but the transition may fail if you can't get the people ready at the same pace as the technology. So
yes, and in an ideal scenario, you create a multi-year vision, and then you break it down in manageable steps so that it doesn't feel in the end like cramming for an exam.
It's a very good analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Yves, for your perspective. It's been very enlightening, and thank you for your time. I appreciate you're very busy. So
thank you for the opportunity, and I always like working with you, and we're happy to engage with all PSAPs and agencies in Canada, regardless of the sizes. our purpose is to help, bring value now and help plan the future, and make the mission, of protecting, saving lives, better as we all go forward, and work as a team to implement new process, new technologies, new policies, and new ways of working. Basically, we know all about global economy, but now we have global communities, where before we had, communities where our primary and the secondary were, in a physical geography close by each other. In NG, we really have a global community now. So the implication of that are significant and exciting.
Very. So thank you very much again.
Thanks.
So have a great day.
You too, Holly. Take care. Bye.